Hey guys, it's Casual Friday, and that means it's Nancy Matz Friday, and today's topic is how not to become an attachment after you die. See you in about 5 minutes. Grab your popcorn and snacks. Find a comfy spot, take a seat or lie down, and let me transport you to a place of fantasy, ghost stories, ancient legends, odd creatures, alien encounters, and other magical topics. You may even decide to join the conversation. From faraway lands to your own backyard, with a small dash of pixie dust. Turn out the lights and open your minds. The journey is about to begin. Hey guys, welcome to California Haunts Radio. I'm waiting on Nancy. I just sent her a link a few minutes ago. I kind of got involved with working on a video and lost track of time, and so I forgot to send her the link right away. Oops. So hopefully she comes on soon. Maybe I'll have to call her even. Either way, my name is Charlotte. I'm going to be your host for the next hour. I'm also the owner of the California Haunts Paranormal Investigation Team based out of Sacramento, California. We are 45 strong up and down the state, which means if you have a paranormal problem or you think you have a paranormal issue, we can help you. It might take us a while to get to you because California is this huge state, but we have psychics on staff who can phone you ahead of time and in most cases settle things down that are going on with you. Let me go ahead and see if I can get Nancy, and this is all my fault, guys. I really apologize. So let me call.
Okay, I'm here.
I sent you the link.
Huh?
I sent you the link just a little while ago.
I'm already trying to get my. I'm having trouble with my audio. I'm already struggling with it.
Okay.
So I did a session earlier and it worked.
Okay.
Now I'm trying to get on and my audio is not working. So give me a couple of minutes. I may have to figure
See, guys, we're all having problems today. I'm forgetful. Nancy's having all the issues with her audio. All right.
Who is?
We're on the air. I'm saying I'm having issues. You're having issues. It's one of those days. Okay. I'll be patient. Bye. Okay. Just want to make sure. I know I should have sent it to her sooner because that compensates for things like this. Anyway, I got a lot to talk about anyway, and if you're watching from Facebook, please be sure to hit that like button, or that smiley button, or thumbs up, or whatever it is you want to hit. If you like what you hear tonight with Nancy, this light, I set up this light, and it just hang on, guys, because my other light's out, and so I'm just gonna go with this. Anyway, even though I like it like really bright behind me, Facebook. If you're watching from Facebook and you hear and like what you see, please hit that thumbs up. Please hit those smileys. Please send those hearts because we're looking to be pushed further up in the algorithm, which means if we're up in the algorithm, a lot of people see us. A lot more people get to view the show. So that helps me, get the name out there of the show and all that good stuff. Same thing with YouTube. If you're watching from YouTube tonight, please be sure to hit those like buttons and all that that helps, like I said, with the algorithm. And also, if you're on Facebook and you like what you see, please be sure to follow us if you haven't done so already. And if you're on YouTube and you like what you see, right? If you're watching from YouTube, hit that subscribe button if you haven't done so already, because we have 622 videos over there, and they're all different topics. I'm a journalist. I don't like to cover the same topics. So I like to cover news topics as well, and as you can tell by some of the stuff like the opioid epidemic that we covered, and a couple other things even this week that we covered, I like to change it up, and cover news items as well. So yeah, and I'm sure if you go over that YouTube channel, you're going to find something you like. Okay, there's a lot of topics over there. There's if you go to the front page, the main page for the live videos, you're going to lose your mind because there's all kinds of live videos all mishmashed and shoved over there. The way to do it is that go to the front page, and I have everything categorized. So it's like if you like to listen to Nancy Matz, then you'll be able to go to a file that just has nothing but Nancy Matz's stuff in there. Just like if you're into aliens and contactees, there you go. You can find it over there. So yeah, please be sure to do that. And if you're watching and you got people in your house or whatever, you're having dinner, be sure to ask them to take a look at the show. To say, hey, there's this cool little show that I listened to and I thought you might be interested in it. Okay, that it's just a favor to me, a favor to Nancy, so we can keep the ratings rolling here. Anyway, I was up all night last night and I discovered something. I'm forever complaining about my internet, because I don't have the greatest internet in the world, but I did upgrade. And, this time of day, as you guys know, things happen, right? Things happen because there might be some big news item or something. And and everybody in my neighborhood has Xfinity, and I know this from experience. This morning about 5 a.m., I finally got the video done, and I'm going to be talking about the video in a second. This particular video, it's an hour and a half long. It's going to be aired here eventually. But I had put it up on the Patreon page, and then there was this option on the Patreon page to put a thumbnail on the front of it. So I went ahead, I clicked on the button, and the whole video disappeared. And I was just going, "Oh my God, I have to redo it. I have to re-upload this video." So, just before I had done that, I had started to upload the video to YouTube because I wanted to get it up there and get it on the schedule. And plus, I can move it off my hard drive. So I decided, okay, what the hell? So without even thinking, really, I start uploading on Patreon. Then it dawns on me that I'm now uploading 2 hour-and-a-half videos up on different sites. So I've got an hour-and-a-half video uploading on Patreon. I've got an hour-and-a-half video uploading on YouTube. And I'm thinking, oh my God, what's the internet going to do? And to my surprise, and I mean, granted, it was like 5:30 in the morning, okay, because like hardly anybody's on, and there's no traffic in this neighborhood at that point. But to my surprise, YouTube uploaded in 33 minutes. Patreon uploaded in 38 minutes, right behind each other. Okay, both processed. YouTube processed in about 15 minutes. Patreon processed in about 11 minutes. So I mean, I'm impressed. I have some high speed internet here. I just don't see it this time of day when I'm doing the show, because I'm forever complaining about it. I just don't see it this time of day. But I have pretty good internet. I was really impressed this morning. So chalk one up for Xfinity, right? Anyway, the video that I was able to get done finally was the video on Gina Rock Tinker, who's the longest tenured Tinkerbell to fly over Disneyland. And the video for the Patreon members is now over at Patreon, and it's going to be there for the next couple weeks. And so that's an early bird thing for you guys to see. That way you can watch it at your convenience. That's one of the perks of being on the Patreon is, Nancy just left. We lost Nancy again. It's going to be one of those nights. Nancy might have to come in by phone, so we'll see what happens. Let's see what she says. I got a message over here. Hang on. See, it's just one of those computer nights when nothing wants to work. We need to check my audio. Don't know why. That's okay. My camera on my computer, every time I try it, a little earlier, would not stay on the computer. It would always pop off. Murphy's Law today. But anyway, I'll let her deal with that for a second, and I'll tell her to come back in. There she is. Anyway, so for the Patreon members, that's one of the perks is you get to see these videos before anybody else does, and you get to critique them. That way, if you think there's something, and this is going to be an extra thing I'm going to throw in. It's kind of like those early movie premieres. So if you see one of my videos over on Patreon, and you think there's something that maybe could be changed to make it better, you can critique it. I'll let you critique it, and that way I can make the video better instead of just putting these things out there and yeah, look, it looks okay, blah blah blah. You guys can help me out. So visit the California Haunts Patreon. The address is in the description to this show, and I encourage you to join over there because that's one of the biggest perks about the Patreon is you get to see these videos like weeks ahead of everybody else. And I can promise you this one about the Flying Tinkerbell is something because this is stuff you don't hear all the time. There's Disney secrets in there about the Matterhorn, because everybody looks at the Matterhorn mountain, There's stories about the Matterhorn that circulate that are true, right? There's stories that aren't true. And Gina clears some of those up when she's talking. She flew for 21 years. She flew over Disneyland every night. 165 feet in the air. Okay? That takes cojones. But there's a lot more to Gina than just that. So that's what this show, the story is about. It's not only about her time with Disney, it's also about her time away from Disney because she is a very, very interesting individual. So I encourage you, if you want to see this thing on an early bird, head on over to the California Haunts Patreon. I think it's $5 a month to be a member, but you're going to get early previews to these videos. Anytime I do a video, unless I'm short on this end, anytime I do a video that's a pre-record, it's going to go over it's going over the Patreon. Okay? and you guys will get, the Patreon members will get first grabs on those videos to see them. And I've already got 3 sitting over there. So I mean, it's not like you're just going to go for one video. All right. The other plus of that Patreon is, and Nancy and I are going to sit down probably next week and figure this out. And I think Nancy's going to be the first victim over there. We're going to do a 1-hour show sometime during the week where you can ask the guest questions. Maybe it's a question that you didn't get. I didn't ask the guest that you kind of wanted asked, or a question that you were too shy to ask the guest, or maybe you're just sitting there after the show and thinking, well, maybe we should have added this in there or talked about this. That's what that's about, where you can go on in there and do a one-on-one with certain guests. And so Nancy's going to be the first one to do that. And I've got a couple other guests lined up to do that as well. And that's part of the perks on the Patreon as well. So that'll be an extra place for you guys to go. All right. Also, over on the Patreon, we're going to be giving away gifts. So when we hit a certain number of members, I'm going to be giving away gifts like stickers and coffee cups and T-shirts and things like that. We're going to have drawings and everything over there. So, I mean, it's a benefit to be over there. You just need to get over there and see what's going on over there. Okay. But, yeah. So check out that address down at the bottom of the description on Nancy's video here, and head on over to the Patreon, check it out, because Tinkerbell's video's up. In fact, in about probably after the show, probably around 10-ish, I'm going to have a teaser for that show. In fact, that's what distracted me from sending Nancy the information to join the show, was because I was working on the teaser and lost track of time. But I'm going to have a nice teaser for that show, and I think you're going to like it. I think you're going to like it. Okay. Without further ado, and again, if you like what you hear today, please be sure, depending where you're at, if you're on Facebook, please be sure to join, follow. Same thing with YouTube. Be sure to subscribe. And away we go. Oh, one more thing. I am teaching a class, and I'll have an ad for that this starting Sunday, for a kind of psychic development class, but it's a psychic protection class. And I taught one last month, I think. And this one's more in depth, where we're going to be looking at the different crystals and what they do, and how they can help you. And I'm also going to teach you guys how to have protection on your body, like making a medicine bag. You don't necessarily have to be Native American to make one. Okay. Even though I have Native American friends that'll probably, get mad at me for saying that. But you can make your own protection bag, or you can make your own talisman or candles or whatever. I'm going to teach you guys how to make all that, so you have protection. All right. And believe me, these stones are fascinating, because there's actually a kidney stone that they call a kidney stone. It's supposed to help you if you're having kidney issues and stuff like that. It's supposed to help you with your kids, protect you with your kidney issues and things like that. I'm not saying they do. I'm just saying that's what it's supposed to do. So that's the stuff we're going to be talking about. We're going to be talking about how all the different stones work, because each stone does a different thing. There's even one for blood pressure, which I desperately need, obviously. Okay. Anyway, that's going to be on Saturday, January 10th at 1 p.m. Pacific. So, and then I'm more flexible. I mean, if you sign up for the class, you can't make the 1 p.m., I might put out a second class for that, just to accommodate the people that can't make that 1 p.m., right? It just depends how much interest I get. So check it out over at California Haunts Paranormal Investigation Team Meetup. Okay. And when you go in, you'll get to the meetup, you'll sign up, and then you go check out the events, and that's where you'll find it. Okay, that being said, today we're going to talk about how to not become an attachment after you die. It's a Nancy day. All right, here we go.
Oh, it's just like me to tackle something so obscure as that. And everybody, I've had an afternoon trying to get, I hope you can hear me clear, correct? Something is wrong with the atmosphere. Is it, as my friend would say, something in retrograde?
Yeah, because when I was first coming in here to shoot the intro for your show, my video, my onboard camera kept turning off for no reason. It would say,
oh gosh,
it was plugged in, the light was on, the computer would say, "Oh, it's not connected."
Oh, Jesus. Well, since I had cancer, it was in '87. You have a squeaky chair, honey.
I know. I need some WD-40 for my chair, guys.
Try sit still.
Or I'm really itching for one of those gaming chairs, a nice red and black gaming chair, because this chair's got tears in it.
Hit.
Yeah, go ahead.
This is a tough topic, but one of my favorite. How many times have I said that favorite topic? The quest to find out why bad things happen to good people. And so
That's
after my
a good knife
cancer,
for it.
I got divorced. 2 years later, year and a half later, they said, 2 years after surgery, I think you're going to live, but we're going to monitor you for 15 years. In those years, in
Excuse me.
87, chemotherapy killed people. And because I was
Mhm.
so young, they didn't want to give it to me. And I can appreciate that, but the mental strain it puts on you is just, it was not easy. And I had to deal with it. And I had to find a way to deal with it. And so the journey started, and the universe sent me over to Spirit of Grace, Citrus Heights, California, mom and pop, Ken and Ollie Keck. And I was labeled as psychic after the first couple times I went Friday Night Circle. And to make a long story short, that's like, if you want to read more about that and my bio, go to nancymatzpsychic.com, and I have all kinds of information there. So, so the last couple of weeks we've been talking about spirit survival, spirit this, spirit that, and it got to a place where we need to talk about attachments. And it's kind of like attachments, demons, attachment. I mentioned Karen Rothstein, and we're writing a book together, and everything I'm putting together here is just little highlights of each chapter of things that we're going to be talking about. And she brought up one day, it was 30 years ago, like 25 years ago, she says, I have a problem with a client. And she gave me the first name, and I call it putting my mind to a client. And oh my God, that client wasn't by himself or herself. I can't remember the first one. I think it was a woman. Anyway, I says, oh, Karen, that person's not alone. That has a spirit attached to it. The word attachment, of course, blending. Oh, okay, I'm still getting pop-ups, everybody. I can't stand this. I've been really busy. My life has been busy, so I haven't had a chance to research that. Anyway, so the word attachment was something gosh,
Is that you or me?
someone trying to get me, and it
Okay.
is what it is. I know it, right?
You
Please
know what?
call what.
This is like one of those like things you see on TV where there's like 6 people in the room, and then the phone buzzes, and they've all got their phones going. You know.
Yeah, right. Well, if I don't answer this on show, that person will continually try to get hold of me. But anyway, everybody's and kindly I say this, everybody's life is important to them
Right.
and in the moment. And I deal with one psychic said to me, I don't like dealing with what you deal with. And I said, well, this is who I am. I have to deal with some really hard stuff. So I like the stuff no one else wants to talk to their clients about. And though I do talk about school and their kids, the tough stuff. But anyway, this is some of the tough stuff is as you are alive today, when we pass over, and now I put my hands down, Nancy, I do realize we do survive. Whether you want to, you believe in it, no interest in it, you do. You fall right out of your body, you roll over, you're lifted out, someone grabs you. And I've had so much proof, 33 years, that for me to not even consider it possible it's not true. We do survive. And those of us who are emotionally healthy when we pass over, and I didn't say having cancer and lingering forever, or some people who have terrible circumstances and they die. I can't address things like that. I'm just going to address you out there who may have potentially an unfortunate accident. You get a disease, or you get to be old and grow of old age and die peacefully of what I call a soft heart. I am dealing with a client whose mother has a soft heart. What that means is it just it frails out. It just down to nothing. And of course, there's all many ways people you live, you're born, you live, and your body is, as I've heard recently on YouTube, it's programmed to not survive. We get to go on, we get to come back, we get all kinds of storylines. So I want to start with something to give you a reference point, something to make you think. I make a reference to a show. A long time ago, I watched this show, and recently I remembered this show. So I went looking for it, and I watched some of this series. I think it went 5, 6 years. And the TV series was called Fringe. Fringe. How many, don't raise your hand, but how many have heard of that? It was a 2012. It was so mysterious. It's like there were things happening that no one had answers for. Well, what it was dealing with was parallel universe. And the parallel universe was a copy of us living in a state vibrationally one off. It's kind of like people say the ghost world is accessible. And when the veil is thin, it means between this dimension and that dimension, then we can see through. Well, in Fringe, they might have had someone like me being a writer or giving advice. Let's do a parallel universe where the veil can be breached and people here can go over there. So that was the premise of the show. And it even started out with this professor whose son was sick. He created a way of accessing another universe where he is married to the same woman and they also have a son. And he tried desperately after his son died to find a cure. No, honey. Mama, can I talk to you? I know. And so the premise of it is he goes over to get that son to give him the treatment to save him because he couldn't save his own son. Unfortunately, couldn't get it back. So he ended up raising the son from a parallel universe. And that's the start of all of it, because now the professor is aware that we coexist with a parallel universe. So in the parallel universe, they're more advanced than we are. And they have different ways of dealing with situations. So as time goes on, the child is now an adult. And they do eventually get to go over to the other side. Well, the other side has a way of, in a solid way, freezing a situation. Criminals are frozen in what we call amber. Remember the movie Jurassic Park? And everybody's frozen. Remember that Goldberg says, just because we can, should we? What was
mosquito,
that?
Mosquito, wait. Okay, yeah, go ahead.
Got the mosquito. What was a mosquito or a wasp, right? Got DNA out, right?
That's right.
So
See,
in the series Fringe, it's the same thing. They freeze people. And I thought it was curious that they froze the professor and a couple other people. And the trauma, or what the people were trying to rescue them, is what have they done all this time? And someone said they are frozen with their last thoughts or their last actions. They can repeat over and over. Can they go beyond that and think of other things? I don't know. But I felt it was an amazing coincidence I would see that recently when we're talking about attachments. Because if I said to you, say you're getting ready for bed, oh no. If they come right in front and walk all over me, I'm going to be in trouble here. Say you weren't aware this was going to happen, and you've had a day at work, office, terrible. You had trouble in the car coming home. You had a fight with your spouse. The kid hit a ball through the window, and you go to bed. You go, oh my gosh! Guess what? Amber is given. The whole house is surrounded by amber, including you. You get to live in that moment of everything happened to you that day, or those last moments of thought, for as long as they can keep you in that. What if they break you free? What is your mind going to be? Well, I imagine a lot of people go insane in the show. They don't explore that, but the idea that you are frozen is how I sometimes see and feel these souls. The souls that pass over are frozen in their weeks or months prior to their death, and they had no resolution. So let me think how we get out of that situation. So if you have a chance to get on Roku, I think it's on FX or something for DirecTV, or it's one of those stations. They've been playing it. Well, the series will play out one station, and then they'll go take it to another station, so you can still see that. Like I said, I watched a few shows, but I didn't pay attention. But when they talked about the amber, I went, oh, that's exactly what I needed to talk about it.
Even the Star Trek Next Generation, I mean, they did a thing where they found this shuttle where people had been cryogenically frozen because they had sicknesses, And they figured, that they paid to be frozen, thinking that in the future, if they were opened up, that it was opened up, that they could come back and be cured and all this. And it was interesting because when they did bring them back, like you say, there's a confusion because they're stuck in their date and time.
Right, but they're stuck in a way that they're okay with being frozen.
Yes.
Okay, so I'm talking about in fringe, they don't know they're going to be frozen.
Got it.
Okay, so if there's so many analogies, but I want to discuss so many other things, but this is a really good analogy. Say someone is in the Old West and they're watching a gunfight go on, and they just had a fight with their spouse, or someone stole their horse and they're not part of the gunfight, but the gunfight people, one is shot and it raises his gun and he actually shoots you and you're watching a gunfight. It's like that person is not going to die peaceful. That person is going to go, oh crap, someone killed me. And now I have my family and they don't have that one horse that I had. Someone stole that one horse. Now I know who it is, but I have no way of telling them. So I want to give some examples of how you should not have that in your life. Now, if you're in the Old West and get shot by a bad guy and someone has just sold your horse and your wife now is going to starve because she can't get to town, yes, that's a problem. It is. We don't have answers. But I would like to take you to a place of thinking of how to surround yourself with other things in your life that are better than the circumstance of dying. Now, my father was very, very gifted, and he took life insurance policy out effective April 1st, 1955 at midnight. I was 6 years old. Guess what? 2:00 in the morning, coming from Las Vegas going down to LA and vice versa. I forget which direction he was going. He was hit head on with 3 Korean War heroes, and he was killed instantly as well as the 3 fellas at 2:00 or 2:30 in the morning. I have it written down somewhere. So even though he was killed, he would have left a wife and children, 2 little girls, 5 and 6 years old, without anything. Mom wasn't working, only he was. Can you imagine? But he was intuitive enough to take a life insurance policy out the day that he was killed. And I remember Mom telling me that they were trying to prove that he killed himself. Well, my father wasn't. He was just knowing he needed to do a life insurance. How would you feel knowing that you need to take a life insurance policy out and you didn't know what would happen? How could you change it? My mother said to me, well, we talked about this before, but I'll mention again. My last remembrance of my father, and I have so few because he was gone, commercial artist for Universal Studios, so he was all over the United States, not always home with us, was I jumped in his arms and I said to him, please don't go. We'll never see you again. And the next thing I remember is my mother's fist going in my face. Don't you ever do that again. Oh, blink. I waited until I was in high school when it came back. And it was so traumatic. But he left anyway. And he left. So it's like he had intuition, but what if he hadn't? See, and we don't always have that ability to be able to do that. My mother's father died when she was 12, and he had fell out of a tree, and he died. And so my grandfather died, my father died, and so when my children were 10, 11, 12 years old, I was having a real close eye on my husband. I said, is this running the family? Is this what's supposed to happen? I was a nervous wreck. Not nervous wreck, but to a place where it bothered me. And then my father's father also died very early. He was just a teenager. I'm not sure if it was illness or his studio caught fire. New York, big building caught on fire. I'm not positive because the records were not, my grandmother was divorced from him. So it was kind of like not known. But he died very early, and it used to drive my mother crazy when he would have a conversation with my grandmother in a different building, but he was always talking to his father. They would have open conversations. My mom says, who are you talking to? Oh, my father. Well, he's been dead 30 years. What are you talking to him for? 25 years. Well, he was only 33 when he died, so it might have been 10, 15 years. It would drive my mother crazy. She was always saying, don't do that. I don't know who you're talking to. But anyway, and I do feel like he died emotionally healthy because he was able to take care of the family. So I wanted you to remember the ember thing. So as I go on, I don't want to spend a lot of time. I want to make sure we cover all this. Envision yourself that someone is going to shoot amber at you and you instantly become frozen amber-like in the TV series Fringe. The difference is that you have full mental abilities on ever needing to move your body, eat, or eliminate process. The mental processes that you have are only the last day you were not frozen. So remember that. So what I'm going to talk about tonight is before you go to bed tonight, in your mind, say, if I don't wake up in the morning, what issues am I leaving unfinished, undone, unresolved? This is what we're going to talk about tonight, because you never know when you'll be frozen ember or maybe not wake up, because that could happen to anybody. You, me, why not? I'm at an age where most people do, a lot of people do pass away. And there is never, the only difference is I'm so sure that we survive. And I'm so sure, even though I'll leave a lot of people behind, that it's exactly the way it's supposed to be, and it's okay. You have to have that in your mind. So I call this dealing with this post-human soul and their state of stuckness. This trauma of one's own mind and the torment of unsatisfied needs being worked out in one's own mind while alive. Now, I know there's people watching the show who have pain. Yes, I know what pain means. I've been in a lot of pain. I told somebody, I says, I'm so lucky to be alive, but I've had some close calls and I've had a lot of pain in my life, a lot of injuries, a lot of health things. And it's just part of life. We have to just live it. And I didn't say it was easy, but you have to work out in your mind. It's okay to be where you are. You have to do it the best you can. And I want to discuss, hopefully, in a way for you to understand the importance of completion and satisfaction. That's what this is about. Because if you pass over without working things out in your mind, guess what's going to haunt us by haunting you? You'll come back and haunt us or become an attachment. We're not going to be talking about, and this is another chapter in my book, but we're not going to do it tonight, is the possibility of you becoming insane, or the possibility of there's being demons out there that can attach to us. My belief system is that what you call demons are actually spirits that have gone insane. And that is my belief system. And there's a lot of people who don't believe in that. And I'm really okay with that. You have to go to what you believe in and what your upbringing. By the way, I have allergies. Listen, everybody has allergies. It affects my voice, of course. So we're addressing these hitchhikers, post-human souls, with compassion and sympathy. What if you were talking to somebody and they were talking about all the problems in their life and then they died? What would be your first reaction? Oh, I'm so sorry they didn't work that out. I'm so sorry that they left with bad feelings towards somebody, because that's what you think about. I had someone I was talking to, he died of cancer. And at the funeral, I says, oh, this individual is so upset. And someone says, that's because all 4 of his wives showed up for the funeral. Can you imagine what unresolved issues that person had? Right? So you want to make sure you have peace with those people that you leave behind. Okay. I don't mean to I know who this is and I'm trying not to tell you. It's not fair. I'm going to be telling you stories of people in these situations, and they're true. I can't make it up. Who can make up these stories, right?
The writers of Grey's Anatomy. Chandra Rhimes, yeah.
I believe it or not, I've never watched the show. Is that
it's like it's like the guy that comes in for a medical procedure and it turns out he's got a wife and like 2 mistresses, and both the mistresses think they're going to get married and they're all there at the hospital.
I think someone told me about that episode. I seem to remember, or did someone tell me and it happened with somebody? I don't know.
I don't know. I just know. Yeah, I just know. Yeah. Oops.
Oops. Okay, so I'd get a choice. Kind of jumping around everybody. I would like to go down to I know it, right? Okay, so I'm gonna do back up. Making a plan so some of the ways that you can help yourself not being so unhappy in your life, to create you to be a spirit attachment. And there's steps. Now you can go to so many people online and they say, oh, wonderful, you're wonderful, you're going to meditate, we're going to pray there's so many ways that you can make yourself a better human being by listening to everybody else. This is my story and what I tell people. And it's not like I'm trying to take anybody's place or take anybody else's information. This is what I've had to deal with these 33 years. And I tell people these things. I says, where are you in your life and what is your next plan? Are you going to date? Oh, I'm so excited. Who are you? Have you put a list together of your interests and your likes and dislikes? So when you meet somebody, you know who you are. Most of us walking around do not know who we are, nor do we really make long-range, hopeful plans. Whether you make it or not, making plans make a dream come true, or plan out to have a dream come true. Even if you don't make it, gives us hope in our life and makes our life interesting. If someone said to me, I want to travel, and someone just did. If you watch this, you know who I'm talking about. Thank you for the Paris pictures. She went to Paris and sent me, I like architecture. She sent me all the buildings that surround her apartment. And I said, I'm so excited you go. She says, I've learned French, so I can go. Then learn French or Spanish or Portuguese, make a trip. Learn the language first. When we strive for the next phase of our life, we're actually happy. If you don't get to do this, then plan something that you can do on a smaller scale. And that would be a church of Portuguese or the Spanish or something where you can go in and enjoy that environment. Because you could go, not to go to Las Vegas and see the Paris. Do they have a building there? It's in
The Eiffel
Eiffel
Tower.
Tower is a building. And it's been 13 years since I've been there. But they do have a Paris. So you can go there and pretend you're in Paris. Learn French and talk to everybody that's in there. It could be really fun. You can find other ways to fulfill what you want to do. One of the things my husband wants to do is get a rubber raft. We're up here by Lake Oroville. And, they have these catamaran looking rafts. When you blow up the sides,
Yeah.
you sit in this. Yeah. And we thought, we'll get paddles and we'll just go. I got so excited, I started looking them up, like $300-400 for decent ones. And I thought, oh, this is going to be fun. Get one for each of us. I don't think I want to share it with him. Anyway, so making plans makes you emotionally healthier. Okay, then I want to speak to being happy. That's one way to do it. Another way to do it is get yourself not to be on the edge. I had a client. I have a client. It was one of the first ladies that visit me after I started Spirit of Grace. It was within a couple of months. And of course, it would be a topic that would be very, very difficult. She came because she knew that I could talk to spirit people, and she had a son who committed suicide. Well, this young man went out with the fellas and the girls, and they went to what we call the overview of the city. You're always seeing the pictures of the kids, Lover's Lane, Lover's Peak, and they could see the town underneath. Well, they were out there drinking, and he had been very depressed about school. And he put his drink down, and he ran to the cliff, and he jumped off. None of them could stop him. It was just instantaneously.
Wow.
So it was a terrible situation. So this is what happens. So a few feet from the edge of the cliff is where I find his spirit. His spirit left his body, and the flesh went to the ground. And he stood there, and I said, what are you doing there? And he says, I changed my mind. I said, why did you change what happened? He said, and I did tell his mother this, and she actually reported me to the newspaper and had a reporter come out to take me down. And it ended up being one of the biggest articles, looking through the looking glass. And it was terrific. The woman loved me, the reporter. And she says, oh my gosh. And it was really terrible because the mother was very upset because I told her what he told me. He says, I've had too much pressure from my family to succeed in school, and I couldn't deal with it anymore. Well, guess who it was? His mother. And she didn't like to hear that. What?
along this line that you're discussing this, that happens. Oh, I thought it was my cat. That, I was like, where are
One of
they?
my, yeah, I got it right here. I just don't
Um,
want to jump up. Yeah, there
that
we go.
happens a lot more than a lot of people would think, because I've done interviews with people that have jumped off the Golden Gate Bridge,
Oh, there's only
and
been a few that have lived. Yeah.
yeah, and the ones that have survived, the first thing they say is the regret hit. Their mind changes the second their hands leave
The
the
railing.
bar, the
Yeah.
railing. Yeah, that their mind changes.
So, like I said, most of my articles are up on the web.
Hmm.
I think it might be on my website, nancymatzpsychic. Looking through the, looking in, I'm sitting from a mirror. My hair's really short and I'm a lot thinner, younger. Through the looking glass, I think it was called. It would turn out to be a really great article about me. And the at toward the end of the article, she had to put one sentence in because that was what she was come out to do, and she said something really stupid, and not stupid, obligated, but the article was great. So I did post it. But being on the edge, I use that term ever since, because he did regret jumping off. But what I asked him was, why? And he says, and then when I left, I thought, he jumped, he says, that was stupid of me. So whenever I talk to people, I said, when you get to the edge of the cliff, call your mother, your friend, the pastor, call somebody you can talk it out. Because if you die at the edge of the cliff, and there's another term I use when you're bottom of a well, visualize yourself on the bottom of a well where the water is gone, and you're looking up, and all you see is the twirling, the sides of the well going up, and you can see the sky, but there's no way for you to get up. And we get lost in that darkness in the bottom of the well. And sometimes I have to come along and show you a way to think about it to get you out of that spot or off the cliff. And I think once or twice I have a friend I call and I says, I type a note, I'm on the cliff. And that person will immediately call. Okay, what is it? What is it? What happens is in our mind, we keep tumbling over and over the same thing. We get mad about something. We can't let it go. You don't want to die with that. You work it out. You call somebody you trust to talk to. If you don't have anybody you trust, call what's the suicide 811 suicide line?
Suicide hotline? I don't know.
Yeah, someone look it up for us and make sure we talk about it, because sometimes people don't have significant others. Okay, I've already talked about so many things. Okay, so I want to talk about a couple incidences where I've had to deal with family. One was a man who died after taking a bike ride with his 10-year-old. Now, what I got from this was an overachiever father. Priorities in your life. I want you to look at your priorities. If you feel like being successful in commerce is what you want for soul fulfillment, then realize if you don't spend time with family or some other situation, if you died, would you regret that? Because this man was fabulously, fabulously wealthy. And all he did was just work, work, work. So the day he took a ride, what?
988.
988 is suicide
Yes.
prevention.
Yes.
And 988, everybody. So when he went for the ride with his son, this is a terrible. He was so out of shape, he died of a massive heart attack, and he wasn't even 50 years old. So commerce was important to him. He made fabulously wonderful, wonderful dollars. But when he died, he realized he wasn't there to raise his children. And this is one of the few times, and I will talk of other times here, where someone has gone insane. So by bringing this up, I want you to look at your priorities. That's why I'm bringing it up. Decide in your mind the most important thing about you. Remember I said, who are you? Make a list. Make sure you understand who you are as a human being, a person, a spouse, a parent, and make sure you understand what's important. If you can't spend time with your kids, get them a big brother, big sister to spend time with. Does that take care of the situation? Not really, but you got to be real truthful. A lot of wealthier peoples put their kids in boarding school. And how many times have you heard of people that, I was in boarding school, my family hated me? Well, no, they just didn't know how to raise you. Boarding school, not the answer, but for them, that was the best. They knew how to deal with it. I wouldn't want to have been put in boarding school. that's that, right?
Mhm.
Um, okay. This is the death of a man. He was driving his vehicle. This is Northern California, Highway 80. Off. This is not a story I have to keep secret. I just can't remember where he was located exactly, but he lived in the Rockland, the Auburn, and he died June 10th or 12th, something like that. And what happened was I was invited to do a tour of the Rockland Cemetery, and Kathy Nugent, who at the time was somebody who did that. She took care of the cemetery needs, da 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 da, and on and on. And so I told her, I says, "Oh, I'd like to do a cemetery tour. That'd be all fun. I'd like, listen to me, something that I'd like to do." Oh, let's talk to the dead people in the cemetery, right? Ah! And I did. And so I said, do me a favor though. If you have people you know who have people who've deceased in the cemetery, let them know I'm doing this and let them have a tour. And so she called a few people who had relatives who recently died. What's the point we give a tour if I have no confirmation? Like John Betancourt had me do tours of the cemetery in Sacramento, but he had the old records. And so he could do validation. And that's why he tried to trip me up. Oh, Nancy, this is going to be hard. I'm going to trip you up. And of course it didn't. And then he got the validation. We do survive. So anyway, I was walking around and I saw a tombstone of a gentleman who died locally. And he yelled at me. I'm going, oh my God, tell them I didn't commit suicide. The road was wet and I slipped and fell into the ravine. And I said it out loud so fast. It was like, did I get taken over? Uh, he just yelled at me. It was almost like, blah, blah, blah. I got to say this really quick. And unbeknownst to Kathy, the relative was there. I think it was the mother or the aunt or somebody that was very close to him. And they thought he had committed suicide. And he hadn't. And they didn't believe me. Guess what? They went back to the records and found out that the night he died, it had rained in June and that he slipped off the road. And so this is a situation where people sense that you are in disarray, you're unhappy, there's all kinds of terrible things going, and then you die. So if people are thinking you're in a bad space, then do me a favor and get some help. Find out what's going on with your life and resolve or resign or whatever. Because if you're accidentally killed, then your family is going to think that you killed yourself and they couldn't help you. This is very, very important because the family was in turmoil. Now, if you back up and look at the whole situation, you go, well, Nancy, how did you end up that night? And that spirit showed up to be able to tell you that he died not by accident, by accident, not by design. So we kind of think, oh, well, let me think here. Maybe his guide said, by the way, we're going to get Nancy in that cemetery. And there was a couple of things I picked up also with other people. And you can get this resolved. Or did he call Kathy and say, hey, get Nancy to do a tour because she's going to tell my family that I didn't kill myself? I don't know how this works. I just say either there's going to be somebody there or there's not going to be somebody there. And I'm going to be able to just help them out. That's all I want to do. And so that Kathy got back to me and she said, you won't believe this, but he didn't kill himself. It was an accident. And it helped the family so much. So with that thought, I want you, if you're going through hard times and you actually die, I don't want them to think that you killed yourself. How you fix that? You need counseling. You need a best friend. You have to look at something that can help you through this trauma. So that was a very interesting one. There's some, I got other ones, but this is also one I think is very important. Time does not roll in front of us like a road that's straight. It wavers. It does a slink. You know what slinky is? Those people, I think it was popular 30 years ago, and it was a handheld, it was a twirl of metal, and the advertisement on TV, they put it at the top of the stairs saying, like, okay, remember that, everybody? That's how I see time in front of us. When we live time, it's behind us. It isn't all curl like that It wavers like this. And at times I think to myself, am I insane? Is this what's really happening? I can only tell you what I know. Um, I did this for a while. I want you to watch a movie, and I want you to say to somebody in this movie, I want you to scratch your shoulder. I want you to fix your bra strap. I want you to turn around. I can do that. You know how I think it's done? Because I entered the movie to that moment, and I tell them to do something. Takes a while, everybody. I've been doing this a long time. I think I can enter time and I can go back to do something. Now, why I'm bringing this up, I want you to think of something that you're ashamed of, you're upset about, you wish you had not said to somebody. I want you to go back to that exact moment in time in the past. I want you to vision yourself, feel yourself in your body at that moment talking to somebody when you wish you hadn't said something. And I want you to you have to say it. But what I want you then to do is say, I'm sorry I said that. I want you to fix it. And what happens is you're giving yourself permission to say you're sorry. Now, does that affect the future? Invisible domino? Absolutely. We can fix a bad situation by saying you're sorry. How many of you had deja vu? And in this flash of a moment, you go, well, that was a stupid thing to say. And all of a sudden you're reliving it. And all of a sudden it's happening. You know what's going to say. And you go, whoa, wait a minute. I dreamt this, or I had a flash of this. I know what I'm not going to say. You fixed it. If it's in the past, I want you to go and visualize that in your mind. Sit down quiet, please. In the car is the best place in the whole world. Close the doors, roll up the windows on a cool day, of course. Go somewhere that's in the shade if it's summertime. I want you to really go back to that moment. I want you to revisit that situation of the moment you wish you hadn't done something. Whether you yelled at somebody, you threw a dish at somebody, you screamed at the car next to you and ended up being your mother-in-law. Didn't happen, but for some reason, popped in my head. You go back, and then I want you to say you're sorry. And I want you to mean it. Because if you don't mean it, it don't matter. And it could help you recover, or it will help the other person recover. And I do believe that's possible. Time travel to correct a wrong has a repercussion that can be felt today. I do believe that. Make up for lost time. Write that letter. Say your piece. Formally end a situation. Formally begin a situation. Wish you had. Now time to fix that. Speak your mind and give service to others in any way you are able. We talked about this, Shar. Service to others. When I was working in a telephone company, I didn't have service to others other than for my children. Your turn for the cupcakes. Okay, mad dash, try to make cupcakes. You know, everybody's kind of crazy at the household. But that's not service. Service is doing the show like this, sharing my knowledge. When I do sessions, I have to charge. You know, I have to pay my bills. But if I can do this in other ways, I do the ghostbusting. I mean, the investigations with you and everybody else that's asked me. It's possible. If possible, I've slowed down a lot. But the first 15 years of doing this started in 90 until 2005. I got married again, and we decided to move to Tucson, Arizona. I was doing events everywhere. Spirit of Grace every Friday night, East West Bookstore, conventions galore. Every one that was out there, I did something sometime. That was what I called service to others, because I made sure. And most of the lectures and Spirit of Grace, I didn't get paid. And that was all the time on top of the readings. And service to others it saves your soul. Because if you can help one more person survive their life, then your life is worthwhile. So again, I say make up for lost time. Write the letter. People call me up and say, oh, my husband has poisoned me against my children. He divorced me and took my kids. Or my daughter's moved away and we're not talking anymore. And I says, well, then send them a card. You have to open the door. And what you want to do is you want to send the card to your child if you never talk. I miss you in my life. I miss you in my life. And I love you always, Mom. You don't have to say, call me. Just say, I miss you in my life. If it's a child, do the same thing. And that repetitive action is what will win them over. Do it once a month. That's all. I miss you in my life. They'll get it. They'll get it. Service others always fine. And another thing too is people say, my life's in turmoil. Find peace in nature. And what I'm trying to go is a place of keeping your body out of turmoil. Also helps with blood pressure, right, Shar?
Right.
Like we got to keep
Yeah.
our body healthy. And
Yep.
by being peaceful inside, this is how I recommend people to do it. And I'm, I was a long distance runner and horse person. And my happy moments, believe it or not, is my putting my shoes on and my dog, Bonnie, yeah, Bonnie, and she'd find Caesar, the neighbor dog, and we'd all go for a run. And I can put myself into a memory of running on the bike horse trails from Granite Bay to Auburn Lake trails up there. And they were the happiest moments. So if I can't get out, I go back to a peaceful moment in nature, however it matters to you. So the house in Hornbrook, when we no longer live up there, if I got tired or it's frustrated, I go out and stomp on the dirt. I go, this dirt is mine. Those trees are mine. I love this. I love the peacefulness of the country. And then even though it scared me at times, I really like the storms and I like the snow. And the snow, we had some hail. I mean, storms where the snow goes sideways. What's that called? Blizzard situation.
Please, yeah.
And
Yeah.
it was like a few times got really scary. And I remember thinking, what was I scared for? That's nature. And I remember thinking, it's magnificent. So find your nature and be peaceful with that. No, I didn't say for you to run your credit cards out for the ladies that want the $1,000 pair of shoes that make them happy. I didn't say, don't call me up and say, I did what you told me. I bought the $1,000. I made me happy. Well, I can go to the thrift store and find something to make me happy.
Well, guys, that's short-lived happiness. You want to go for something that's going to make you happy in the long term. Maybe you want to go outside and watch all the animals in your yard play. Like with me for a while there, it was the feral cats and the kittens and everything. I could go outside and watch them and even play with them occasionally, but it made me happy inside.
Actually, there's something to be said about this. Yeah. I want to go back. There's a couple stories I didn't tell you, but I think it's because I was running out of time.
Keep going.
This story is not here, but there's something that happened. This is recently a man was having an affair. Women have affairs too, and there's sometimes murders and all kinds of things. Anyway, he got killed, and he's been going around to everybody he knows trying to stop them from finding out that he had a lady on the side and his wife did not know. I cannot tell people what to do with their life. If you're going to have a fling on the side, just don't get yourself killed. If you're not happy in your marriage, then end it. Be fair to your spouse. They deserve to be happy with someone who wants them back. And men have told me, I can love my wife, but I can also have a mistress because that adds excitement to my life. And I actually said this to a man. I says, what if you die and your wife finds out you had a mistress? How would you feel? Never occurred to him. Well, this just happened. I'm trying to think of what state it was. If I said Tennessee or Kentucky, I think that's in the direction. But anyway, make sure that you don't have paper trail. Because if your wife found out and you're a spirit person and you hear that she found out, how disappointed she would be with you, and vice versa. It seems like I get more stories about, come on, what are you laughing about, honey?
I got a story to add to that. The Brookdale Lodge, just outside of Santa Cruz, when we did 2 investigations there. The first investigation, because there's something like, I forget, like 200, 300, 400 ghosts there. And it's all mobsters. It's all mobsters. Okay?
Yeah.
So we're walking around and these ghosts of these male mobsters are coming out. And they're afraid to talk to us because, in their words, they were all having affairs and they were afraid that we would tell their wives and their wives would find out.
And they're all dead, right?
Dead. Yeah, they're all dead.
Yeah, but the
That's what
extended
that reminded me of.
families are still are all
Yeah. But that's what that reminded me of, what you just said. They're all dead, and we had like 20, 30 ghosts come out and go, well, I don't think I can talk to you because of this. And I get back to my wife.
right. We don't have enough time in the day for the stories I have listed here, because what I'm pointing out is the disarray or the situation. How about
Hmm.
somebody that's embezzled?
Oh,
There was
yeah.
a client of mine who's unknowing to him, his wife was embezzling money, and when he found out, he didn't know what to do. So what would happen if the wife died and knew that she had put this man through that? So I'm not saying that we become Puritans. Please, I'm the last, who am I to tell you how to live your life? If you come to me and you have issues, well, then I'll help you think it through or give you
Hmm.
advice, what's going to happen. But there are situations that we live our life, and you can watch TV every day of the week and find another situation. And when you do, you think to yourself, well, if that man dies, how about somebody who's been responsible for someone's death and they die without making resolve it? They were responsible for a medical procedure or a product or something that killed people. If the person died, how would they resolve that in their mind? We can't live our life in such a way that you're unhappy. Meaning, if you're going to have your affair, you're going to have whether I tell you not to or not. If you're going to steal your wife's mother or your wife's mother and father, I've heard of him. There's another client. God, I almost said. See, I gotta be so careful. Wealthy family, another family, and the brother had stole the man's money. The client
Hmm.
was a wife of a man whose brother embezzled the money from him. And when he found out, they actually caused a lot of problems. What happened if the brother had died and seen what would happen to the family? Or what if the man who got embezzled, he died without resolving it? They actually took him to court. He went to jail. What if he died before that could happen? And he's
Hmm.
restless and he goes around, and after a while, these people become insane. And so, in some ways, there's a couple things I want to talk about before we lose more time. There's such a word as, I said it earlier, hitchhikers. And these are people who have unresolved life wants. And so if you die because of needing more in your life, say you die and you've been poor, and you say, I've always wanted to have a good meal in a restaurant. So the first thing you think of is when you're passed over, I'm going to become an attachment to somebody. And every time they go to a restaurant, I'm going to eat. There are people in spirit who have unresolved wishes, wants, hopes, and desires. I'm talking about the negative side. I'd like to talk to the positive. You say to me, well, Nancy, don't we all greeted by, listen to me, we all get greeted by somebody? They turn these people away, or they're so in disarray or depression or trauma that the people that would greet them, they can't see them because they're blinded by their needs, wishes, wants, hopes, and desires. And so we have a myriad of what I call the really negative things that can cause people to die after death, become an attachment to other people in the family because they can't get the message to them. That's a terrible way to be. But there's also people, and I'm going to give an example, a couple examples here. Um, say you bought a boat, and the next thing you know, you take it out on the maiden run. Can you imagine the people who did Titanic, right? And the thing sinks. And that was the only thing you ever wanted to do. And so what happens is when you die, the only thing you can think about is getting on another boat. So you hang out at the harbor and you wait for somebody who has a boat, and you become attached to that person, and you enjoy the emotions of someone with a boat. And that's a
Hmm.
hitchhiker to me. And they're not all insane. They're just the unyielding yearning of wanting to do something. And how do you resolve that in this lifetime? It's hard to answer that, because what you want to do is you want to fulfill the wishes, wants, hopes, and desires of your life now and do the best you can. But you don't want to become obsessed with it. I think having peace in your life, doing what you can do. Someone asked me once, so I got cancer, and it was a couple of weeks away from the first marathon I was going to run. And December 7th was from I think it was Granite Bay down to Sacramento International Marathon. And I had been running 20 and 21 miles a day on the weekend. Oh, I'd just go a fun run. So I'd average 16, sometimes 18, 19, 20 miles. And I've never done it. And so I thought to myself, well, the cancer killed me. What would I have thought about that? Well, I've realized that I could still run the marathon by running it as a spirit person. And I was talking to someone that I trusted. And I thought that I'd say, what do you think I'm going to do when I'm a spirit person? She says, oh, I see you riding a horse on a horse run. And I thought I had finished that episode of my life because I gave up the horses to be able to become a runner. Long story, but that's exactly what happened. Yet the thrill of riding power, of being on the horse's back, the best ride I ever had was through the redwoods. I think it was a 40 or 50 mile ride, and it was exhilarating, and it smelled and was one nature. See, and so I can see why she would say that, because she didn't know how. Just someone I trust to tell me, and I went, "Wow, she didn't know I did that." She knew I was in horse, but she knew I was in competition. So I can see why we do that. Yet I think I would like to run because I remember some of the best days of my life were running. And of course I would, right? Not in the kitchen cooking, taking care of babies. No, riding, running. So, so I'm not saying I wasn't a great mother. I was, but we're talking about what makes you happy personally. Yes, kissing up my grandchildren was wonderful. I got 2 great granddaughters that are just precious. It's not the same thing because you can be a good parent, good work person, but if you're not emotionally satisfied in your personal life for you, then you have a problem. So if you want to paint, join a class. If you want to learn to run. So I was 50 years old and I joined a rollerblade group out of Rock. Well, I joined, let me think, took up rollerblading. I had someone teach me. I know I was going to join the group. So my daughter said, you made it. You're 50 years old, Mom. Of course, when she hit 50, we didn't do this. But she says, I want to buy you a tattoo. I go, what? She says, yeah, I'm going to get the same one. It's going to be on your toe. I didn't know. If you're going to get a tattoo, don't do it. Your toe is one of the most painful places on your body. So I have roses on a toe, and so does she. To celebrate my being 50. I lived to be 50. And I didn't do the same for her, but it wasn't kind of a different situation. So I've given you some ideas to pursue peacefulness in your life, happiness, make plans. Even if it happens, the idea of making a plan helps. Finish your hobby, not to justify that you've done something like this. How many movie stars have we heard that went into painting? Tony Curtis became a wonderful painter. George Bush, the president, became a wonderful artist. Does it mean that you have to do something like that? No, you have to do something that brings peace to you. You do it today. Go in photography. Do flower arrangements or grow roses. These are just ideas, everybody, just because that's how I think. Personally, I would like to have somebody whose son I saw. So I have a client, Modesto, and she has a son that's about 14 years old or something. And I actually saw the young man building robots that will be on the moon. And when I told her this, she had listened to the tape. He goes, I've always wanted to do that. Now he can make long range plans. See, that pulls him through life. So no matter what negative could happen around him, he has a plan. And that's what keeps us alive and keeps us going. So that if in case you do become an attachment, if he were to die a day after graduation or the day after he created that robot, he can be on the moon watching everybody use his product. Why not? We do survive. And even though it's crazy to think that that's possible, it will happen whether you believe in it or you want to. Oh, I'm an atheist. That won't happen. You could be an atheist. I had this really well-renowned, famous person come to me, leaned on the desk, came in with a student. I think I mentioned this before. Student came in with these big arms of books. I loved it. I thought, what are we going to talk? Now I don't remember, unfortunately, him or these books I brought. I just remember the ghost he brought in with him. He leaned over the desk. He said, would you tell everybody I was wrong? So at my website, I was triple tested by Professor Gary Swartz for my abilities. And a little after that, a year after that, I did share with him this story. And he looked at me in amazement. He says, of the people I tested, 2 other women told him that this spirit had, this ghost, the spirit man had come and told them that he was wrong. We do survive. Isn't that amazing? I love that. Not because I did that, but because even an atheist can go, oh, poo, look at this, I'm alive. It's amazing, everybody. But then you want to pass over emotionally happy. If I were to pass over the next 5 minutes, would I be emotionally happy? I think I've helped enough people. I made peace with somebody from my past, and I've had a good marriage. You know, there's enough to be grateful for. So being grateful is very, very important. Be satisfied you were able to complete what you had designed in your life for as much as you could. Don't be resentful for people who didn't like you, or resentful because someone else had more. It doesn't matter. Do we believe in reincarnation? Do you pick a life for the turmoil or for the anguish you'll suffer through it? Listen, if I had that answer, I would have that answer. If you do, and we do, pick a life, I picked a hard one, but I've been able to do what I do to help people. That's made me feel good. I know people who are watching this who have a lot of pain in their life. I don't have that answer. I wouldn't want that for anybody. If there is a way to prove that we do pick a life, has anybody seen that photograph of the baby being born? And the doc holds the baby up, and the baby has a squinched up mad face, and it says, oh no, back again, but parents who have no money. Something like that. Reincarnation. Oh, fudge, I pick parents who don't have any money again. So I think we can laugh at that. We can't. We can laugh at the circumstances of our life. But yet, through the troubles I've had, my father dying so young, and the troubles that got me to where I am today, made me a better person, made me more compassionate, maybe. And so I think that we pick a life for what we get from it, and what we experience is because we want to know what it feels like. I have no answers. I don't have all the answers. Thank goodness. Maybe that's the choice of life, is to find out the answers on our own. That's about as good. I finish this up. Another example, finish your hobby, and if not, justify in your mind something equally fun to take its place. Do not go into spirit with I wish I had. That's the hardest thing for us to do. Don't go in with I wish I had. Go in with I wish I had, but I got as much as I could do, because we don't want to become an attachment and have Karen and I try to pull somebody off somebody. I hope that answered some of your questions, everybody. I made it brief, very, very brief. There's so many examples. I didn't even get to all of them, but I wanted to be able. Suicide hotline. Thank you. Suicide hotline. Oh, good for the chat room. Thank you, everybody. Yeah, it was fun. 98 is a suicide and crisis lifeline. I really believe that's important. Okay. All right, Shar, how did I do?
Right. Very good. I want to make a side note here. A frequent guest on the show, I'm not going to say what happened, but a frequent guest on the show, Jared Murphy, is in the hospital, and he could use your prayers and whatever good juju you could send out. But he's been in the hospital this week. I don't even know where he lives anymore because he moved. But I know this happened I believe it happened in Minnesota.
Okay. So, Ralph, what's his first name?
Jared Murphy. It's Jared.
Jerry in Minnesota.
Jared Murphy in Minnesota, yeah. And I know you guys know him. He's the Not Aliens guy. There is a what? This is an example of what? Click on it. Oh, I know what to do. Don't tell me what to do. Click on a comment to make it come out. I don't care. It's telling me to click on a comment so it shows up on the screen. Click on a comment to show it on your screen. I don't care. But anyway, so yeah, Jared's in the hospital, and he's having a hard time right now. So if you guys could, get some juju, and I know you guys know who he is. He's the Not Aliens guy. He believes that a lot of the stuff that is ancient technology wasn't done by the aliens; that it was done by us.
And was he a guest of yours?
So a couple of 3 or 4 times, yeah.
Okay.
Yes.
So you can look him up, everybody, on her show.
Yeah, he's the one
Gary
that, because
Murphy.
I suggested it, he's the one that went to the Grand Canyon to try and find those caves, with the giants.
Oh yeah, yeah, yeah,
Yeah,
yeah,
because I
yeah.
suggested it. Yeah, he's the one. So yeah, so he's
Wow.
having a hard time right now. So he could use your prayers. Okay, that being said, you Patreons, that video's up. It's waiting for you. Tinkerbell awaits. It's an interesting video because she has done so much more in her life other than playing Tinkerbell. So much more. And I think you'll find it interesting. Like I said, it's an hour and a half video, and yeah, it covers everything. And that's what she had asked me, was she didn't want to talk completely about being Tinkerbell. She wanted to talk about her outside, stuff that she did. So that's what I
Yeah,
did.
I can
And it
appreciate
turned out,
that.
yeah, it turned out really balanced. But boy, has she done stuff. So yeah, so check it out. That would be for the members of the Patreon. Now, if you're not a member of the Patreon, you still have a chance to become a member of the Patreon. If you look at the description of the show with Nancy today, down at the bottom is a link to the Patreon. Because what happens over there, like I said, is you get to see these videos like 2 weeks in advance of everybody else. So that's kind of cool. And plus, it's kind of like a preview night, like those when Sony Pictures sends you tickets and says, "Why don't you come preview this movie and fill out a
Yeah,
questionnaire and tell
yeah,
me what
yeah,
you
yeah,
think?"
yeah.
Yeah, it's kind of like that, because if you see this video and you think, well, maybe you should have changed that, or you didn't do a certain question or something, that gives me 2 weeks to maybe make the correction on there, to make the video better. So you
Mhm.
guys get to play editor, you guys get to play critic as well. So it's kind of cool. Plus, I think next week Nancy and I will set up a night to be out there live over on the Patreon. I don't know which night, but we'll talk about that this weekend. And yeah. So anyway, go on over to the Patreon, check it out, and it's going to be a great video. And I will have a teaser of the video out within the next couple hours here, because I'm working on that. That's why I got distracted before I came on. But yeah,
Oh
I'm glad
darn.
everybody came. I'm glad it's Friday finally. I was up all night. I finally went to bed around 10:30 this morning and got up
Oh
at
my
3:30.
gosh.
But I had worked all night on the video. I get so into these videos and doing them, I just lose track of time.
Lose
Next
track
thing I
time.
know, the sun's up. I went out there to grab some water, and I was like, "Oh my God, the sun's up!" So
I
yeah,
hope
but it
you
was worth
guys
it.
had a good show tonight, and
Yes,
make sure you follow through on looking. And if you like the show, give us a thumb up, because that helps
yeah,
her out.
that helps us.
Okay.
Yeah, yeah, algorithm and all that. Yeah, if you're watching from YouTube, same thing. Give us a thumbs up. Give us some love, some smiley faces. Also, if you haven't done so already, subscribe. Subscribe to these things, because it's not only Nancy. We love Nancy, but we do other topics as well, obviously. So I mean, there's a
It's
lot.
our show.
There's always a lot going on during the week, with different types of guests. In fact, thank you for reminding me. Monday we're going to be talking. I got this thing going with Atlantis for some reason this month. So Monday,
Atlantis.
Michael LaFlemme is going to be with us to talk about visions of Atlantis, because we
Woohoo.
just had Atlantis on the other night. So we got another Atlantis coming up Monday. And of course, Sunday I'll be here reading the book. I think we're getting close to the end of that book. That last chapter that I read was really long. To me, it sounded like it was starting to close down, and I thought, well, I'll just go on and see what happens. And it just kept going and going and going like the Energizer Bunny. So we'll see this Sunday what happens. But hopefully I won't get banned on TikTok this Sunday either. But anyway,
I know
there's
what
people that say worse things than what's in that book. So I don't understand. People have their pages and they say horrible
Okay,
things. So I don't
okay, everybody.
know what their trip is. Okay,
Yeah,
I don't
yeah.
know what TikTok trip is. But anyway, I want you guys to have a great couple days. I will see you Sunday at 6:30 and 6:30 Pacific. And please check out the Patreon. I urge you to check out the Patreon, because, like I said, any pre-recorded show that I record goes over there,
No,
and the cat thinks so too.
I got one
So,
on each side of me. It's kind of like but it brings a lot of fun to our broadcast and my life. Do like these silly things.
so anyway, here is Nancy's information for you guys before I sign off. So here we go. Here we go. Hello, there it is. Websites, nancymatz.com, nancymatzauthor.com. The N, M, and A are capped. youtube.com/nancymatzpsychic. Help, get me out of this funk. Nancy Matz. My squeaky chair. Two Worlds, Developing Your Psychic Skills, Nancy Matz. And The Unwilling Sacrifice, Nancy Matz. Feel like I'm reading off an Oscar thing, isn't it? And the winner is Amazon. Woohoo! Yeah, books, you get the books at Amazon.com. All right, guys, I will see you Sunday at 6:30 p.m. Pacific. Have a great weekend.